Hello, my name is Nisha Noor and welcome to Millennium Headlines. This week's top headlines are: 7 injured after roller coaster plummets in Scotland. At least 5 people in white supremacist in the lead. Polls show Clinton expanding her lead over Trump. More than 3 million signed pre-exit do-over petition. President Obama's weekly address. Now the details to this week's top headlines. Children and teenagers are feared to among the 7 injured in a roller coaster crash Sunday at a theme park in Scotland, according to eyewitnesses. Eyewitnesses said that the tsunami ride at M&D's amusement park in Motherwell near Glasgow had been full when it's derailed. Katie Burns said she had just finished riding the tsunami roller coaster and was walking past when the carriage crashed with children on board. On Facebook, she said literally got off the tsunami at M&D's and then walking past, and the next lot of people get on and the full thing goes off the tracks. Honestly, never been so scared in my life. With this weather, they should not be on. Kids and adults are still on its upside down. It's like something out of a horror film. Children crying and everything. Literally can't believe this. My heart goes out to everyone on it. A full load came off the track and on the pavement like a horror film. Worst thing ever heard and seen. Can't get over this. She posted an image of one of the roller coaster wheels on the pavement. Witness James Millerick, who was queuing for another roller coaster at the theme park, said he heard shrieks from customers. He said there was talk that someone had come off of the rides and rushed over. When we got there, the roller coaster had come off the track entirely, straight through the gated fence at the side of the roller coaster and was upside down on the concrete path at the side, he told Sky News. There were maybe 7 or 8 individuals, mostly of younger age, between maybe 10 and 15 years old, that were actually trapped inside the roller coaster lying on the ground. The harnesses were still on, as well as there was absolutely no movement. He said he thought the roller coaster had slipped off the tracks as it came around a corner but did not fall from the highest point. Police Scotland said 7 people have been injured in the crash and the park has been evacuated, according to the BBC. A Police Scotland spokesman said, "Emergency services are responding to an ongoing incident at M&D's theme park in Motherwell, and further updates will be given in due course." A spokesman for the Scottish Ambulance Service said 6 ambulance crews, a specialist operation team, and emergency doctors were on the scene. He said, "I can confirm that we are attending an incident at M&D's theme park in Motherwell." According to the M&D's website, the tsunami roller coaster can go at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour through corkscrew turns and loops. Children under 10 are not allowed to use the ride, and those under 14 must be accompanied by a paying adult. A spokesperson for M&D said a serious incident occurred in M&D's today involving the tsunami roller coaster. "We have all emergency services on site to assist. The theme park is closed until further notice." At least 5 people were injured, some with critical stab wounds, Sunday afternoon after a protest by white supremacists turned violent on the lawn of the California Capitol. Sacramento Fire Department tweeted that 5 patients were transported to the area hospitals from the melee. The Traditionalist Working Party held a permitted rally at the Capitol. The group was met by counter-protest. The groups began fighting on the Capitol lawn just before noon. The party writes on its website that American popular culture offers examples of perverse behavior that mean to destroy European American families, leaving us unable to secure our own future as a race. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks hate groups, said the TWP, formed in 2015, and is the political wing of the Traditionalist Youth Network, which aims to indoctrinate high school and college students into white nationalism.
The Nazis are the violent ones. We have a right to defend ourselves. That's what we do.
Do you fear that there could be a death in the process if this movement continues?
I fear that there could be a death in the process, and there already are if the Nazis are allowed to continue organizing. We have an obligation to stop them and to defend ourselves.
A pair of new polls show Hillary Clinton expanding a lead over Donald Trump, albeit by different margins. Clinton now leads Trump by double digits, 51% to 39%, in the new Washington Post ABC News poll, a survey that had the race statistically tied last month. In the week since, Trump has drawn criticism over his comments about a judge's Mexican heritage and his reaction to the Orlando terrorist attack. The Post said its poll found sweeping unease with the presumptive Republican nominee's candidacy, from his incendiary rhetoric and values to his handling of both foreign affairs and his own business, foreshadowing that the November election could be a referendum on Trump more than anything else. Clinton leads Trump by a smaller margin in a new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. That survey gives the former Secretary of State a 46% to 41% lead over New York businessman, up from the 46% to 43% advantage she had in the same poll in May. When the House race is expanded to 4 candidates, including Libertarian Gary Johnson and the Green Party's Jill Stein, Clinton gets support from 39% of voters. Trump gets 38%, Johnson 10%, and Stein 6%. Both polls also show high unfavorable ratings for Clinton, and the election is still more than 4 months away. More than 3 million people have signed an official online petition calling for a redo for the Brexit referendum, generating so much traffic on Saturday that Parliament's website temporarily crashed. The official UK government and Parliament petition follows Thursday's shocking referendum in which 51.9% of United Kingdom voters supporting leaving the European Union. It passed with a turnout of 72.2%. The newspaper The Telegraph called the feverish online response the biggest surge of support Parliament's website has ever seen. The text of the petition is succinct. We, the undersigned, call upon HM government to implement a rule that if the remain or leave vote is less than 60% based on a turnout less than 75%, there should be another referendum. According to the Express News, however, the author of the petition, who submitted the petition a month ago, is not upset over the outcome of the referendum. Rather, he has submitted it in the expectation that the Remain forces would prevail and wanted to set up a second bite of the apple. De Montfort University activist William Oliver Healy tells the Express that his strategy has been wrongly hijacked by the Remain campaign. The Parliament's Petitions Committee, which considers whether such submissions should be taken up in the House, will hold its next meeting on Tuesday. Theoretically, the government could ignore the referendum, which is not legally binding. However, Prime Minister David Cameron, who announced his resignation in the wake of the vote, said the government would honor the results and take steps to leave the alliance. Labour legislator David Lammy says Thursday's national vote was non-binding and our sovereign parliament needs to now vote on whether we should quit the EU. He says some Leave supporters now regret their votes and Parliament should vote on Britain's EU membership. He said, "We can stop this madness and bring this nightmare to an end. Let us not destroy our economy on the basis of lies and the hubris of Leave leader Boris Johnson." Constitutional experts say Parliament cannot easily ignore the will of the people. Alan Renwick, Deputy Director of University College London's Constitution Unit, says, in legal theory, on Friday, June 24th, President Obama designated the Stonewall National Monument the first national monument dedicated to telling the story of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender communities' struggle for equal rights. In this week's address, the president talked about the importance of preserving and sharing this significant part of the American story. Although we have seen true progress over the years, the president acknowledged that the LGBT community still faces discrimination to this day. With that in mind, the president emphasized that as a country, we must continue to push for equality, acceptance, and tolerance because that's what makes our country the greatest nation on earth.
Hi, everybody. The story of America is a story of progress. It's written by ordinary people who put their shoulders to the wheel of history to make sure that the promise of our founding applies not just to some of us, but to all of us. Farmers and blacksmiths who chose revolution over tyranny. Immigrants who crossed oceans and the Rio Grande. Women who reached for the ballot, and scientists who shot for the moon. The preachers and porters and seamstresses who guided us towards the mountaintop of freedom. Sometimes we can mark that progress in special places, hallowed ground where our history was written. Places like Independence Hall, Gettysburg, Seneca Falls, Kitty Hawk, and Cape Canaveral. Well, one of these special places is the Stonewall Inn. Back in 1969, as a turbulent decade was winding down, the Stonewall Inn was a popular gathering place for New York City's LGBT community. At the time, being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender was considered obscene, illegal, even a mental illness. One night, police raided the bar and started arresting folks. Raids like these were nothing new, but this time the patrons had had enough. So they stood up and spoke out. The riots became protests. The protests became a movement. The movement ultimately became an integral part of America. Over the past 7 years, we've seen achievements that would have been unimaginable to the folks who, knowingly or not, started the modern LGBT movement at Stonewall. Today, all Americans are protected by a hate crimes law that includes sexual orientation and gender identity. Don't ask, don't tell is history. Insurance companies can no longer turn you away because of who you are. Transgender Americans are more visible than ever, helping to make our nation more inclusive and welcoming for all. And 1 year ago this weekend, we lit the White House in every color, because in every state in America, you're now free to marry the person you love. There's still work to do. As we saw 2 weeks ago in Orlando, the LGBT community still faces real discrimination, real violence, real hate. So we can't rest. We got to keep pushing for equality and acceptance and tolerance. But the arc of our history is clear. It's an arc of progress. And a lot of that progress can be traced back to Stonewall. So this week, I'm designating the Stonewall National Monument as the newest addition to America's national park system. Stonewall will be our first national monument to tell the story of the struggle for LGBT rights. I believe our national park should reflect the full story of our country, the richness and diversity and uniquely American spirit that has always defined us, that we are stronger together, that out of many, we are one. That's what makes us the greatest nation on earth, and it's what we celebrate at Stonewall, for our generation and for all those who come after us.
7 injured after roller coaster plummets in Scotland. At least 5 people in white supremacist in the lead. Polls show Clinton expanding her lead over Trump. More than 3 million signed pre-exit do-over petition. President Obama's weekly address. This has been Nisha Noor. Thank you for watching Millennium Headlines. See you next week.